Way! Football. That's right. This is NFL Straya. I'm your co-host, Jaymz Clements. I'm a guy. You can see me on the panel, the official NBL Supercoach show. You can see him on the NBA Straya show and the AFL Today show. All the good stuff here in the fancy studios. The Sports Today studios, a.k.a. the Jaymz Clements Excellence in Podcasting Memorial Studio. And joining me on the other side of this here screen, because he's got work to do, you see. It is a bloke who is a sometime singer in a band called The Ramshackle Army. He is my mate. He's your mate. He's Fly, Eagles Fly. It's Gaz. Gaz, what's going on?
Mate, I had to put the blinds down today because apparently the sun has just been beaten in. It's like I felt like CD Lamb just trying to catch a touchdown in the end zone, just unable to fucking get that going. I know, Jim, can we hurry up and start to get paid to do this podcast? Because unfortunately I have to do real work, which is keeping me from being across.
We're not paying him? Oh, whoop.
Oh, fuck!
Don't say anything. Anyway, this is the NFL Straya Week 10 wrap show. You know my feelings when we hit double digits of the weeks. I just get sad because it's like, oh, hang on, there's only like 2 more months of this. Anyway, we're going to have our news. We've got the Week 10 wrap. We've got, we've got the weekly awards. We've got some fantasy. We've got our Week 11 picks. All wrapped up in one very fun, silly, unknowable NFL Straya package. So, let's get into it, Gaz.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Nothing breeds preparation. Buy-in, passion, buy-in, passion, buy-in and some passion. G'day. I'm the Rizzler, baby, and you're listening to NFL Straya. All right, guys, I'll tell you what. That guy loves it. He's got weird ears, but B, he loves a bit of buy-in and passion from his players. There's a new interim Saints coach, Darren Rizzi, who I already love way more than Dennis Allen because he's a lunatic. Like, Dennis Allen, how would you describe him? You can't because he's that boring. Rizzy, it's like he's the weird one with the weird ears, and you can just call him the Rizzler. And he also just completely backed up a toilet before the game on the weekend. It's like, this guy's a legend already in my books. Like, he's an NFL Australia legend. Like, if we had a Hall of Fame, he's already going into it. Like, that's where it is. But anyway, chaos weekends, awesome weekend. We had a Germany game, which actually turned out to be weirdly fun.
Was it though?
Yeah. I mean, it goes to overtime. It's like we're now just subjecting the Germans to like way more sadomasochistic, which they probably dig because they're Germans. More just absolute pain in the form of an overtime game between the Giants and the Panthers. Like, yeah, this is pretty good, I think. Aha. They're like drinking Steins. Like, that was awesome. Like, I need more Steins at sporting events, I reckon. But otherwise, guys, I think, well, walk-off field goals was like another big thing this week. And I don't know, I have a question. Are KC ever going to lose again? Like, it's just getting weird.
It was real strange. I'm like, can this be happening? Like, I'm going to stop whatever the fuck I'm doing and watch this. And okay, of course that happened. Of course it wasn't let's pray for it to miss and let's take it to, fuck, let's just go and block the cunt.
It's just ridiculous. Like, it was awesome. Yeah. So that was fun. So they're taking the piss at this point. 15 straight wins. They're 9-0. But to have a walk-off blocked field goal is just a new level of fuck you at this point. Like, that's cool. Good on them. And now the one thing that's in the back of my head every time they keep just not losing is that Andy Reid's actually closing in on Bill Belichick's like win record. So that sort of bums me out a little bit.
They've also got some sort of record now for the most straight wins when losing in the second half.
Yep.
Like, Jesus Christ. I know it's a long bow with the fucking records now, but
that is incredible though.
Yeah,
it's getting to the point where it's like, should you actually just spot KC a lead in the second half just to feel better about yourself? Just so they don't come from behind to get you. It's like, we'll just screw it. Maybe we'll get them this time. Anyway, other little bits and bobs from around the league this week. Probably the funniest is, well, not funniest. Like, the Cowboys are just generally funny.
I'm finding it very fucking funny, Jim.
Of course you are. Like, this is it. This is how you roll. Like, CD Lamb, like, they're now, the windows are still the funniest thing in the world at Jerry World. To the point where it's costing the Cowboys touchdown. It's like, Jerry, you built this thing. Do you know how directions work?
Yes. So apparently,
where the
spicy little bastard's gone. Oh, and yes, we also do know the direction of the sun in our own stadium. Thank you very much. Like, really? And the fact that that CD 1,000% wants curtains, and we only have to play one game there, and then we fuck off. But fucking CD's trying to fucking roost touchdowns in the end zone. It's not great.
But anyway, for other bad stuff for the Cowboys, Dak's getting surgery on his partially torn hammy, which is, I don't know, surgery in your hammy. Like, that's just not great ever, really. So that stinks for him. I also love that it was like, oh, he's going to get it pending the one last specialist. I'm like, is it me? Like, is he just going to, like, at what point do you go, I want more? Just see what they say. It's like, dude, that's ripped. Just fucking pack her up, boys. What are you doing?
It was partially torn off the bone. Like, nah.
I always love, so again, not a medical doctor, but when they actually, I love whenever they refer to stuff as like off the bone. I'm like, oh, it sounds delicious. I mean, I don't want to eat people, but at the same time, anytime you say off the bone, I'm thinking like tasty foods. Simple as that, right? Anyway, speaking of partially torn, Tyreek Hill has a torn ligament in his wrist. Played through it today, today. So that's, I mean, Tyreek's just kind of like a weird dude anyway. And he was kind of asked about this during the week. He's like, I'll see how the body feels, just we'll see what happens.
This is the guy who just went and got like racially profiled and abused out the front of the stadium and then came in and went off his fucking head.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Micah Parsons doesn't like Mike McCarthy to go back to the Cowboys, which is pretty fun. He's like, oh,
that was very weird.
I mean, he's not wrong.
No.
Mike McCarthy, I think we've got plenty of evidence here. And it's like we're in this weird situation where we've got both Chicago and Dallas and their coaches stink, but they just also, neither of them have this history of firing coaches in season, like ever. Yeah.
And there's no one to replace, as we've mentioned last week. McCarthy's got no one to replace him.
Go, so what do you do? It's like rock and a hard place. You now just got to write it out. And the Bears fans are just like, what? We're just stuck with Dweeberflus? Are you kidding me? Yeah. Like, this is horrible. Yeah. But yeah, the Mike McCarthy situation is very, very weird.
I like that. I was with there was the couple of quotes as part of the big answer from Micah. And the one was about Zach Martin and feeling really sorry for Zach Martin because he wanted to hold the trophy up for him and those guys who are first ballot Hall of Famers who are not going to get it. And I'm like, I don't really see the bit where, why are they saying that he's slagging off Mike McCarthy? And then it gets to the point where he goes, and Zach Martin, who's worked harder and played longer and done any more work than Mike McCarthy's ever done.
It's incredible.
Like, oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, it's like you're waiting for the kick in the guts and then it's like, bang. It's such a good. Yep. So the quote is, that's above my pay grade if Mike's coach again next year. All coaching aside, Mike can leave and go where he wants to. Guys I kind of feel bad for is guys like Zach Martin and the guys who might be in their last year on their way out because that's who I wanted to hold the trophy for. You want to win games and do great things with those type of legends who put in more time. I was with him
till this point.
Who put in more time and work than Mike McCarthy ever did.
Mike McCarthy comes out the next day and says, well, no, we've been men and we've sat down and talked about it and he didn't mean it. And then he's come out on his podcast and went, I didn't want to throw anyone under the bus. But you've got a history of saying dumb shit on your podcast, Micah.
Yeah.
Like...
Loved it.
Anyway,
good stuff.
I enjoyed it.
Yep. Mike McCarthy, though, does have a Super Bowl, and I'm just saying Micah Parsons is like, Anywho, one other little thing. I mean, Chris Olave got sent to the IR from his concussion, which just sucks, and he's like getting all these sort of specialists and stuff. I was like, so we're doing this back on a Tuesday on our normal day. And I wanted to sort of mention the Dweeberflus, Matt Eberflus stuff. because it's very frustrating. I'm sure Chicago fans are just like, we are bad. What the hell happened? And everyone's like, look at your coach. He's always been bad. I don't know what you expected to change about him from going from bad to good. What have you ever seen that would say that would happen? Yep. And now they're like, well, Chicago has quite literally never fired a coach mid-season. And you look at the rest of that coaching staff, you're like, yeah, I can see why. Yes. But I just wanted to flag it because we could also have the exact situation where we've had in the past where we say something hasn't happened yet and it happens tomorrow.
Yes, that is a definite high. Well, I'm not saying I say high. It's definitely a possibility.
Anyway, and the fun part from the weekend was Luke Kuechly banging the Panthers drum. I'm not sure if you saw this video, Gaz, but it's amazing. So they played in Germany. How do you get a giant drum emblazoned with your Carolina Panthers logo on it to Germany? You put it on a big boat.
Wow.
Back in July.
Holy shit.
And Luke Kuechly broke it.
No, I did not see that video.
It's so good. My point is now, you now have to break a drum before every game because you won. Like, what are you doing? If you don't break drums and you lose, you're like, what are we doing?
It's the drum's fault.
We're going to be breaking drums. Like, what? This is sick. Anyway, so great job by Luke Kuechly. And the last little bit, injuries. Sam Laporta hurt his shoulder in the Detroit game, which stunk, but he's day-to-day, so hopefully he's okay. But, geez, the last thing Detroit needs is any offensive injuries. But anyway, let's do it. Let's do some raps from week 10. Hey, do you remember Friday, Gaz? That game was sick. 35-34, Baltimore beat Cincy. Like, this was also the poor one out for anyone playing Jamar Chase in fantasy.
Yeah, that was fucking ridiculous.
Even Joe Burrow had like 30 plus. You're like, oh man, come on, dude. But Jamar Chase went off. He had 264 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, it's pretty good.
How do you losing? I know we'll touch on it later, but the ridiculousness that that Burrow played the way that he did, 428 and 4 touchdowns and lost.
Yep.
And then what Goff put up today won. It's absolutely ridiculous. But also the stats of what Burrow's got in the 2 games against the Ravens.
Yeah.
Is fucking mind blowing, and he's 0-2 in those games. Like,
so, I mean, the easy answer is like against Lamar, who threw 3 touchdowns in the 4th quarter. Like that's just the tough one. So that weird jump ball, like basketball shot that he threw to Bateman was pretty funny as well. Yeah. However, I've had like in terms of like, you know, we bring up betting every so often on this show. I copped an absolutely brutal one today in the basketball on this big thing with missed by 1 rebound. In this game, I missed a big multi by, I believe, 2 yards from Derrick Henry or something like that. I'm just like, just run it one more time. Oof. And they threw 3 times. I'm like, what are you doing? You're killing Jim. You're breaking my heart. Anyway, that sucked. So, but this was a really entertaining game. It was absolutely on for young and old. Yeah, Henry net was 68 yards. I had him for 70. And you're like, dude, you're healing me. That is just...
You'd almost think that that's a fucking lay down Mazare right there.
Yeah.
Anyway. But just how many games in a row, when you look at Cincy missing a playoff spot now is just they've got to be the best non-playoff team in years, because there's going to be someone shit in the NFC who'll get in. But if you look at the reason behind it, it's pretty fucking clear. Like, how many games have the Bengals scored plus 30 and still lost?
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at the defensive stats comparing the 2 teams, Cincinnati did not have a sack, which is fine, but also 1 QB hit. So they just didn't even get to the Ravens. And, you know, it was already known that they would be able to put up yards because the secondary for the Ravens is suspect, and that's what allowed other teams to come back. But if you look at comparison, 3 sacks is fine, but 13 quarterback hits the Ravens defense put on Burrow. And you're like, fucking hell, mate, that's a big gap. But it only ended up 1 point. Yeah. Jesus.
Well, the thing is, they're 4-6. So their entire season now comes down to basically chasing down Denver, who, like, the AFC is such a weird mess Like Denver are 5-5, so they're at 500, and they're a playoff team. Everybody else is below that, and they stink, and they're below 500. So that's what their season comes down to, like just out-dueling Denver essentially down the stretch. Anyway, good win for Baltimore. Keeps them alive, obviously, in the not just the AFC North, but in the sort of hunt for the top four, because they've got a reel in Pittsburgh still, because both those teams are right there, 8-2. No, it was a 7-2, I think, for Pittsburgh, 7-3 now for the Ravens. So they needed to win that just to give themselves a chance.
Yeah, well, we keep saying that Pittsburgh's going to fall off, and we're still waiting.
Just not going to happen now. Giants 17, Carolina 20, punishing the Germans in overtime.
Fucking hell.
Hey, can Sean Hotchley just bloody chill out as well? Speaking, letting rip with the actual German read of like what the call was. Like, all right, you're jacked and you speak German. That's not fucking good, like ever. And also, I think his old dad, Ed, he did it in Mexican, I think. Well, Spanish. That's what they speak in Mexico. But
Mexican
I think
is the food, Jim.
Exactly. They played in Mexico City, I reckon, and he dropped a bunch of stuff in Spanish, which was pretty gnarly. So maybe that family is just a bunch of bloody show-offs. But anyway, Chuba Hubbard, 153 yards and a touchdown. Carolina is now on its first win streak since 2021.
That's fucking nuts.
It's amazing. Bryce Young wasn't bad. And flip side, Danny Dimes is cooked. Like, we'll talk about him again later, but yeah, the knives are out, and it's amazing that it hasn't been time before. So,
well, you know what I do, Jim? When an NFC East team loses, to make myself feel better, I go to their subreddit and just hang out for a little while. And the Giants subreddit, it's not even fun anymore. They're all just accepting, which is they're not even angry, Jim. That's what I'm just trying to get at. They're not like, we've seen this coming. Like, we just keep Danny in there because now we're expecting to lose and we're going for draft picks. We don't want DeVito in there to actually maybe win some games. That's not good.
Yep.
And then you get like the coaching staff's just not giving them anything either. They've had a bit of a bright spot with Tracy coming on.
Yep.
But like, you can't even get the ball to Neighbors. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. It feels like
it's a sad state of affairs.
We'll talk about them again later in the NRs, but yeah, it is bad times. Hey, the Pats beat the Bears. What the hell? 19-3. What the hell? Like, I just blame Chicago. Like, the Pats bit, like, Drake May threw a pick early, and you're like, wait, we're winning. Oh my god, ew, Chicago are bad. That was me watching that game. Drake May versus Caleb. So Caleb's now lost the 2 games that he's played against the fellow top 3 QBs from this year's draft. So loses to Jaden Daniels, now loses to Drake May. Drake May was pretty good. I mean, the receivers for the Pats still suck, but you get that on the big jobs. Their defense was fine, but the problem is you're playing Chicago, and I just don't know what Chicago's doing. Like, it's so bad. Like, watching them, I just and I went to this, you know me. You're like, if we lose, it's not a hugely bad thing. Like, Chicago bounce back. Oh God, they're bad. Like, that was my entire thought process watching that game.
But 3 or 4 weeks ago, we're like, he's impressing, and they're just improving. They're just clicking just a little bit at a time and starting to put together. And he had some big games, and then all of a sudden, we're not even the end of the season. So you can't say hitting the rookie wall. Yep. But then you consider it when you compare to what your mate Daniels, and fucking hell, the fan base, like the NFL Straya watchers are not wrong, Jim. Like, the video that you posted, it's just, you've clearly got a hard on for Daniels.
I'm not wrong. Like, I do. Yeah. I have a giant boner for Jaden Daniels.
Jesus.
He's incredible. I love him. I think he's fantastic. Is it because he's in both your big proper money fantasy leagues, Jim? Yes. Yes, he is.
Yeah. But yeah, you would have just that's really unfortunate that May, who was supposed to not even, delay him as long as we can because we don't want him to get killed. And now he's got a little win over the first overall draft pick.
I think the other thing is, so Chicago are that bad, and you watch it and you're like, oh yeah, they used number 9 on Roma Dunze. And it feels like it's just a waste rather than just going, oh, maybe we should shore up this this horrible, horrible O-line. Even though, look, they are very injured. You get that. But it just feels like it's an already lost season for Chicago because it is.
Yeah.
They're 4-5. They're cool. Anyway, moving on. Buffalo 30, Indy 20. Weird game. Buffalo goes bang finally in the fourth quarter. But Flacco just looked cooked. Three interceptions. They hung around because they were up early. Like they're up in the first half. But Josh Allen threw double the amount of INTs that he's thrown all season. So 2, which is amazing. To the point where you're like, oh yeah, Josh Allen versus Lamar for the MVP. Watch out. But Indy have a big question we'll talk about again later, but they're just not that great. This was pretty demoralizing to happen at home. And the Bills
was it the very first or second play from
series,
Flacco was the pick six?
First series was pick 6, and you're like, yeesh. So Buffalo got off to a fly, but they got reeled in. Minnesota Jacksonville, this game was horrible, 12-7. Yeesh. It's pumpkin season, and we're looking at Mac Jones versus Sam Darnold. It just makes sense. Mac did lead their 1 touchdown drive, though. Looked good.
Yeah.
And then looked bad. So
yeah, they had the lead for a long time, and all of a sudden this defense for Jacksonville, like Darnold looked.
I think
Darnold, what the fuck? Those picks.
A lot of Cam Robinson, just the Jags just hate that dude that much that they played really, really well on defense. We'll talk about that again later, but yeesh. Yeah, 12-7, Minnesota get a win. They needed to. If they had lost that, it would have been just absolutely a disaster. But
I was praying because it was going to bring them, like, that would have added some crazy spiciness to the NFC.
Yep. They're still now 7-2, though. So, and the Jags, that's their season done. The other thing is, like, waiting for Dougie P to get fired. Like, that might happen tomorrow as well. We just never know. We'll see what happens. But I don't know. Aaron Jones got hurt in this game as well, and the Vikings just couldn't sort of do much until they just did enough down the stretch.
Yeah.
And it was all with their kicker, Romo, which was pretty funny. Yeah. Denver 14, KC 16. You had one job, Denver.
Fuck.
Just kick a field goal. Like, you beat them. Like, what are we doing here? But anyway, they got to... How do you beat KC? You get to Mahomes. And, like, Denver did that. Their secondary was fantastic as well. Sertan's been back and just like crushing it. Bo Nix didn't suck. Like that was important. He had 2 very good touchdown drives, I thought. And then they couldn't quite do enough. And their field goal was bloody blocked at the end because KC just kissed on the wang. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, nothing more to add, really. Kareem Hunt's been a nice, I guess, bell cow, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
Lead running back for them this year. Everyone thought assumed that he was cooked after a couple of years in the wilderness. But he's doing well, and they just keep, just fucking annoyingly.
They just keep doing it, Gat. They just keep Kansas Citying, just Kansas City keep Kansas Citying it up. It's just what they do.
Yep.
Speaking of Atlantaing it up, Atlanta 17, New Orleans 20, because Younghoe Koo just kept missing field goals and losing the game. There was one that was blocked and he missed 2. LSU missed by 3.
Fucking nuts.
What are we doing?
That is absolutely insane because Younghoe Koo is automatic, right?
Usually.
He's just fucking automatic.
He had been. He'd been also very sketchy at times last year. Like he had been automatic, then he was sketchy, then he was automatic again, and now he's just like missing everything. You're like, dude, what? Just pick a lane. Like, what are we doing? And the worst part is it ruined an awesome Bijan game because he was absolutely everywhere. 116 yards on the ground, another 28 in the air, like 2 touchdowns, absolutely crushed it. Kirk was horrible at times as well. Like just, he'd have these drives. He was like, oh, I'm afraid, and threw the ball into the ground. Oh, I'm afraid, threw the ball into the ground. You're like, it's the Saints. Like, they're not that good. What are we doing here? But Darren Rizzi had them up and about. And look,
dead coach bounce, mate. What was fucking weird is these plays are going to Valdez-Scantling.
Yeah.
Like, didn't you retire or be forced to? Like, how are you still around? And 2 TDs, 110 yards.
Yeah, there were dudes catching balls for the Saints who I don't know. It's like Kevin Austin Jr. I've quite literally never heard of you. Juwan Johnson, Dante Pettis. You're like, this is just bottom of the barrel vibes. Well, Atlanta's got, Bijan crushing it. Drake London, who was questionable, ended up with 97 yards. Kyle Pitts and they lose. Like, they just couldn't do anything. It was horrible. Anyway, the Rizzler, he's an absolute weapon. Great job by the Saints. Dead coach
and they'll lose every game.
That was the exact point I was about to make. They're going to lose everything else. So, Niners 23, Tampa Bay 20. The Jake Moody. Talk about field goal kickers. What the hell? The roller coaster. He misses what? 2, hits 3, I think. Yeah. And the third one was the game winner.
And Debo has the long snapper by the throat and then takes a swing at Moody. You're like, what the fuck is going on your sidelines?
Falling apart in the Niners.
Wild.
But that was a very, like, I'd backed the Niners. I had an absolute horrible, we both had horrible weeks on the picks.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these favorites didn't even come close to covering. But the 23-20, like, Purdy had an incredible stat line, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, sacked for 3 times for 15 yards. If you watch that game, you'd be like, geez, Purdy's not very good. Oh, what the hell is this? But he got his little binky back in Christian McCaffrey, who played like limited snaps, but had 68 yards on 6 receptions as well as what he had on the ground, which is like 13 carries for 39 yards.
Yep.
And you're like, yeah, that sort of carried them over because Baker did what he could, and then they just didn't quite get over the hump because the Niners finally remembered how to kick a bloody field goal. So, yeah, 44-yarder to win it, walk off. See you later. Thank you, mother, for the rabbits.
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, Baker is just still plucky, right? Only put out 116 yards and a TD. But he's what, leading the league in touchdown passes at this point in the season? Was before this.
Yeah.
But also Ricky Purcell got his first after being shot after the draft.
Ricky Bang Bang Purcell. So,
gets in for his first touchdown. Like, there you bloody go. Because
yeah, the Jake Moody game, absolute chaos for like I've got Niners mates who are just like, oh god, this is horrible. But they are 5-4. You just got to keep winning.
6.
Pittsburgh 28, Washington 27. What a game! This was nuts. Jaden Daniels played like dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was his worst game since like week 1, and they still nearly won it. And it all sort of came down to like a bit of out executing by Pittsburgh, right? Like, what a fun game. You had Najee, Warren, and Pickens all doing pretty good for the Steelers.
Yep.
And Rusty Wilson just going, you know how good it is to have Mike Williams on my team now? Really good.
Fuck.
So he loved that. Like, Warren was good. Najee Harris was good. They had 119 between the two of them. And Pickens 91 and a touchdown. Mike Williams, he had 1 reception with 32 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
Moonball Rusty, just bang. Mike Williams like, this is great. I hated Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's so good. I love it. So it's like, what does Rusty do pretty okay still? Throw moonballs. What does Mike Williams, what's the one thing that he can do? Catch moonballs. Like, sick. Nice meeting in the middle.
What's not great, Jim?
What?
Rusty's dance at the end of the game when they got them to jump offside. That was it was horrendously funny because Rusty doesn't come across as having a sense of humor. But the fact that they were, 4th and 1, end of the game. What are they going to? Oh, no. You got to punt the ball away, Jim. You got to make them march to the length of the field. Nope. Nah, all right. Surely they're just going to do this thing and try and get the Commanders to jump. And surely the Commanders are going there it is.
The amount of times,
game over. See you fucking later.
I found this wildly funny because I'm like watching it going, like I'll be watching it with the squids on a Monday morning and I'm like, look, they're just doing the hard count. They're trying to get them to jump. No one ever jumps. It's just wasting time. You just wasted a timeout. And then I'm watching this happen. I'm like, they're not going to, oh my God, they actually jumped, you idiots. Oh, Washington. Boo. And then boom. So Pittsburgh get the new set of downs and kneel, game over. Yep. Washington, you big dummies. Way to go. And it was even like the turnover on downs at the end of it for Washington of like just the throw?
Zach Ertz.
The throw, and the short.
Yeah.
Like it was a pretty bodgy call, it feels like. And it's just one of those things. So we're talking about ball tracking technology in AFL. It's like, how the absolute utter bugfuck the NFL doesn't have proper ball tracking technology for downs is still completely beyond me. It's a multi-cajillion dollar industry. And the AFL, who is basically, AFL House is essentially like a shack, like that's just falling down. And they just don't know what's going on at the best of the no one likes Thursday night footy. It's like, everybody likes Thursday night footy. We're never doing it again. Like they can't get out of their own road. And the NFL's like, no, we're going to judge some 74-year-old dude who's puffed out and like a bunch of chains to determine where that ball should go. And you're like, what the hell? It's not the 1960s. What are we doing here? This is insane. Anyway, sucked in Washington. Tough one. Pittsburgh, keep on winning. Chargers, 27, Tennessee, 17. Sure.
That's what I was about to say.
Juzzy Herbs was scrambling. He ran in for a touchdown. I'm like, that's good, but don't do that. You'll get hurt.
Yes.
Juzzy, stop scrambling. I want to put him in bubble wrap. I love him that much. But the Titans are bad. Will Levis came back and is still Will Levis. So, yeah. Chargers defense, for real, though. I think the weirdest thing is the Chargers defense, I'm just like, I don't know who's on it, but they're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you look at them and go, oh, where are all those big names? And there's a couple still there, but like
Bud Dupree, Poona Ford.
They're all pretty old, but they're just fucking good.
There's a Bosa.
They've got the other non-MAGA Bosa, but I'm pretty sure they're all MAGAs. I actually should have mentioned that at the top. He got fined, which is hilarious. Sucked in dipshit.
Was worth it.
What a
like he had something to do with the fucking getting on the line.
What an absolute dipshit. But yeah, the Chargers, look, their defense is just been so fucking good.
Yeah.
To the point where they've not given up more than 21 points in a game yet, have they?
I don't know.
I'd have to take the most is 20 that they've given up in a game. That is absolutely unreal. So, yeah, not bad. They do have Khalil Mack, and they've got Darwin James, and they've got their Bosa. But it's like Denzel Perryman and stuff like that who are absolutely shredding.
Yep.
So, yeah, they rule. Anyway, Jets 6, Arizona 31 in the funniest outcome of the week.
Oh, my God. Like, this Jets team, man. Like,
the gift
they'll
that keeps
have
on giving.
One game of like fucking this defense will step up and cause chaos, and then they just go missing for 3 fucking weeks. And like the fact that the bend don't break Jonathan Gannon defense, who's always been don't get beaten over the top, and like Aaron Rodgers was not throwing passes more than 10 air yards, and he's just got fucking Garrett Wilson and Adams. I just don't get what's going on with this Jets team. It's very confusing to watch, Jim.
It is hilarious. Like, sucked in. I also like that, it's like they keep going missing. It's almost like they go into like darkness retreats for like weeks at a time for no real reason.
Yep.
Hey, Aaron. But amazingly, the funniest stat from this one was the Cardinals were successful in 28 of 29 series. So that's when you get a new set of downs.
Yep.
28 of 29. That is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like every time they got the ball, they're just like, oh, well, we're going to keep it
first
for a bit.
First.
Holy shit. And yeah, the Jets are just DUN done. Like they're cool. And it's funny. Talk about them again in a second. Philly 34, Dallas 6. Ooh-wee. Speaking of DUN done, the Dallas Cowboys.
This was a good time, Jim. This was a good time. I sat before this game and was just like, Cooper rushed, like he was 5-1. And then I was like, yeah, but they had a defense back then. And then Micah Parsons came back. And at the beginning of this game, I was like, oh, shit. They were sending him on some exotic blitzes and he was getting to the quarterback. And then, Jim, we got to the half and made some adjustments and scored 22-0 in the second half. And it was 34-6. It was a demolition, and it made me feel happy that at some point we put in Kenny Pickett. Yep. And you know how the game finished, Jim? A tush push by Kenny Pickett. I'm like, that's a good time. That's really is. To have that happen, the Cowboys have now lost, 4 straight by more than 20 points at home?
Oh.
At home.
Hey,
but yeah, I mean, look, stats-wise, Barkley wasn't needed as much as normal, but still like third and long swing pass out to Barkley, who runs through like 5 defenders. That was pretty amazing. AJ Brown got back in with 100 and some very, very nice passing by Hurts. Hurts has started off really, really dodgy when I was like, oh, well, he's had a fumble and an interception, but still ended up with 4 total touchdowns and just took care of business. But even the defense, mate, well, Cooper Rush put up 45 yards, Jim. They had a total of 49 net pass yards for the game.
So there was a moment. So Romo was on this call, right? And it was like hilarious because he's just like, it's not good. And they cut to like Jerry and co up in the box. He's like, yeah, they're not happy.
No.
Like, oh, really, Tony? Thanks for the bleeding obvious. Yeah, that's hilarious. So the cool thing is you figured out how to score in the first quarters again.
That's true. That's true.
Very nice.
Give it to Saquon is the answer, Jim. But also, like, I think the biggest surprise is this Vic Fangio defense now is fucking wild. Like, we've gone from no linebackers to Zach Bourne's playing out of his fucking tree. Nakobe Dean, who shut the game down last week, he's on fire. Fucking everything has turned around since Cooper DeJean. Fucking after the bye, they're like, all right, we're going to put that second round draft pick in, and him and Quinyon Mitchell have just been off their fucking heads. Yeah. So, mate, this is all of a sudden like the word, playoffs and Super Bowl is starting to be in the conversation and not kind of tongue in cheek. Like, I don't think we're seriously there, but at least when people go, oh, you know what? If you get out at the right time and there's something falls off and there's an injury happen at the Lions, well, maybe it's a game. But just fucking beginning of this year, I was just like, we're fucking bad.
This is great.
Yeah.
Good times. Nothing makes me happier than you getting hope.
Oh, yeah. No, it's fun.
When it gets dashed, it's the best. Just feed that to my soul. It's like the meme, like, oh, this motherfucker thinks he's going to the playoffs. Like, I love it. But you'll make the playoffs, but yeah, outside of that, juice, who knows? Because Detroit just keep on winning, 26-23 against the Houston Texans, despite Jared Goff throwing 5 interceptions.
This was fucking insane, Jim, because they were down and out.
They were cooked. It was 23-7 at the half.
Yeah.
And he threw 5 interceptions in the first 2.5 quarters, basically.
Wild.
And like Chris Collinsworth is like, I don't know. This just if they can get this flipped, guys, they might be able to be doing. And then it did kind of flip, and they got like I think he brought up the phrase momentum. He's like, these analytics nerds, guys, they don't believe in momentum, and they got the momentum. And they won the fucking game. It was awesome. Like, it was essentially like Goff sort of woke up, went, oh, yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He can catch the ball. Fucking sick. Let's go. But they kept running, which was the other thing, right? They kept fucking going, we have the 2 best fucking, like the best pairing of RBs in the entire comp. Let's just use them more at the Texans. And it worked. So Gibbs and Montgomery were really, really good in that second half as well. Because like every so often, one of them would sort of just snap off like a half decent little bit of a run when they needed it. And they get the field goal at the end to basically win the entire bloody thing. And you go, okay, that's pretty good. What was it? How long was it? 52 from Bates. And they're like, I love that they kept bashing home the stories like, these are from around here, guys. Oh, geez, guys, you had people you hadn't heard from for years calling him up and messaging him and saying they're going to the game. And now he's here kicking field goals. Like, all right, Collinsworth, just fucking put your pants back on for 1 second. But he kicked it, and he also nailed some other massive ones. And like, this is it. Where was it? Inside. Even though they had the roof open. I didn't realize the Texans one was fucking retractable.
No,
I nearly fell off my couch when I saw that. I went, wait, it's got a retractable roof. It's like Telstra Dome. Anyway.
They lost the time of possession. They lost the time of possession, the turnover battle. Fucking, they lost everything except the fucking scoreboard at the end. Well, as we mentioned earlier, the fact that Burrow can score 4 touchdowns and lose, and Goff can throw 5 picks and win is pretty nuts. But this fucking Texans team, man, like 6-4, sitting okay. But as we've just said, there's something fucky happens every game.
Something
where you're just like self-inflicted.
They can never just run away with the game and just like win it easy. And like CJ Stroud, like they also ruled out Nico Collins just before it started too. So he was like thrown to like fucking John Mechie and shit. So, but they ran Mixon really well. But the problem was it sort of just ran out of gas and like the defense just wasn't quite there in the back half of the second half.
Yep.
I'll tell you what though, we had a couple of great fucking uniforms this week, including that Texans red uniform.
Dude.
That looks sick. But the perps as well. For
I was
the
about
Ravens.
to say the Rising, the Purple Rising or whatever it's called. The helmet for the Ravens uniform was fucking sick.
All here for it. All right. And finally, Miami held off the Rams 23-15 down the stretch. Like made it needlessly complicated, I feel like, on themselves. But this was the student has now become the master between fucking sketchy looking Mike McDaniels. Too many Mike Mcs. Against Sean McVay, and they beat them. Like they really, like Stafford still had 293 yards, but it felt like Nakua Cup did what they kind of wanted, but they didn't let Kyron Williams fucking crush them. And then on the flip side, they had just 207 yards passing, but to like a million different receivers. Tua was on point a lot, and they scored early, and then they sort of just didn't give up the ghost because their defense was better than it had been in, I feel like, fucking ages. So my Dolphins buddy was at this game, and I haven't gotten the check-in text message that I sent him to give me the recap. So I think he might have just gotten on the tins. Yeah, as you'd expect, because that was a big win. And I called it. I'm like, this is the thing last week. I'm like, I fucking love the Dolphins in LA. And they held on, like, despite almost shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Good. Good recap, Jim. Okay, thanks, guys.
That was great.
No, to be honest, it's a big one. And like, weirdly enough, the Dolphins are now 3-6. And I think the biggest thing to come out of this week is that the Bills are 5 games ahead of the rest of the AFC East. We're only in week 10.
Yep.
That's fucked.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the Dolphins aren't going to make the playoffs. But still, it's just nice to have Tua back. All right. Quick yeah-nahs. Hey, are the Cardinals good, guys? Yeah, nah.
All of a sudden, Kyler, he's fun again. He's scrambling around like that little toddler, like as you always love to refer.
A toddler with a loaf of bread.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you've got John Connor, obviously getting in there, and Trey McBride has been consistent as fuck. They're not even relying so much on Marvin Harrison Jr. Everyone just kind of assumed that with the brand name that came along with him, that they were just going to feed the prick and then see what happens. But they're winning without, he got in the end zone. It was a nice catch, but they're only putting up 50 yards.
Yeah.
They haven't had to feed him consistently because Trey's still there. And so James Conner this week was, what was he? Fucking 110 yards, but 80 of them were receiving.
Yeah, weird.
So, yeah.
That's it. I don't know. It's just like every time he gets off the chain, they win.
Yeah.
No, the defense is fine. Like, it's not great. It's like bottom half, but like in terms of yards per game. But I feel like in points per game, if you go into points per game, they are absolutely like just their top half. So it's pretty weird that they're that's literally bend, don't break. And there you go. I think they're on top of the NFC West, which is just chaos.
Strange.
They're 6-4, but I think I'm pretty sure I bet their wins over as well because I think it was only 6. So I feel like it was 6.5. So I feel like that's okay. Do Indy switch back to old mate Tony Richardson? I'm calling him Tony Richardson now because I don't know if he's an Anthony. Yeah, no.
Well, they're fucking pretty, maybe 1 or 2 weeks more. And once you're really fucking done, then what's the point in keeping Flacco? He's not coming back.
So as I said, like they're the same as the Bengals, right? They're 4-6. So they're chasing that last wild card spot. So you're chasing 5-5. Denver. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but you brought Flacco in to give yourselves a better chance at making the playoffs. And that's not what happened.
No,
So,
but I mean, let's be honest. What the Texans have shown at points this year, they could go on a really disastrous run. They're only, 2 games behind?
yeah. My favorite thing is the entire AFC South is on a losing streak right now.
Yeah.
Like everybody. It's the most
And
AFC
everyone's
South
on a
shit ever.
negative. It's the only division where every team's in a negative point differential.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at us
Anyway.
just talking numbers. Anyway, they stink, and I think they should go back to Tony Richardson because fuck it. You got to find out if he can do anything. I mean, Bryce Young was fine the other day, right? So, come on. In what world could the Pats actually have a better record than the Jets at the end of this season? Like, do you reckon that's actually going to happen? Yeah, no.
That's fucking. It'd be pretty impressive. I think the fact that the Jets can't get out of it this year or next year, because no matter what happens, if Rodgers even if he retires, they've got a $47 million worth of dead cap.
That's amazing.
So at least you guys are, even if you don't finish with a better record than them, you're like, oh, you know what? We were pitching for draft picks and we're on the improve. Whereas they are in a world of pain for years to come, Jim.
I love it. I'm so happy.
Years to fucking come.
It's incredible how bad the bottom of the AFC is, though. Like 2-8, the Jags, the Raiders 2-7, Titans 2-7, Browns 2-7, Pats 3-7, Jets 3-7, and the Dolphins 3-6. That is, like I mentioned it last week, 9 teams on 2 wins. Like it's still shit. It's amazing.
That's fucking nuts.
Was this actually a warning game for KC? Yeah, no.
They've not been covering spreads for fucking.
This is why I feel like a fucking idiot, because we keep saying about it, and it was like 8.5 going into that game. It's like, Denver's defense good, but KC should smash them. Denver's going to have it down. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, KC just don't cover big spreads ever.
Yep.
They just don't. They never have.
No.
Anyway.
So I don't think they'll treat it as a warning at all. I think they'll just go and do their thing and continue to do that thing, and eventually they'll. But if you look at I think the rest of their schedule, like every one of them is winnable.
Well, I think the biggest thing, so I was going to bring this up, and I'm glad that sort of jogged the memory, because they play the Bills this week.
Yes.
Outside of, if they win that, like the AFC is basically done, because they'll have the tiebreaker over Buffalo. There'll be 2 games up on Buffalo. They'll basically have the tiebreaker over everybody. They beat the Ravens at the start of the year, didn't they? In their fucking toe tap game. Like the weirdest thing is, so when I say warning game, they also have so they're what, 8-0? Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
9-0. Fuck, of course.
No.
But there's 4 of those games that are just completely fucky, and they've pulled it completely out of their ass. Where it's like the Ravens toe tap game. You've got that stupid Bengals game in week 2 where they could have gone for 2 off the top of my head, and they completely just fucking pulled it out of their ass. The Falcons game was an absolute barrel of monkeys bunch of bullshit. You had the Buccaneers last week, where if the Buccaneers go for fucking 2 at the end of the game, as opposed to being fucking cowards, and they could have beaten them. And then this week, where the Broncos had a fucking field goal blocked at the end of the game, the 100%. Most improbable bullshit you could ever imagine, and they're 9-0. So they play the Bills this week, but then they are a real fucking chance. They've got the Panthers and the Raiders, and they've got a tough one against the Chargers. And they play the Browns, the Texans, Steelers, and Broncos. They're probably not going to go unbeaten.
No, they'll drop 1 or 2 of those games.
Poor Lord. If they go unbeaten and win the Super Bowl, I have a lot of explaining to do. How is Tom Brady and Bill Belichick the pair of goats, Jim? Oh, well, they didn't do what KC did and 3-peat and win unbeaten. But anyway, it's probably not going to happen, but still.
Yep.
I feel like another team that we can add to the done list as well, where we've got the Pats, Panthers, Browns, Giants, Titans, Raiders, Saints, Dolphins, Jets, Jags, Cowboys. We can now add the Bears. We're at 12.
Yep.
So yeah.
Hey, you missed
Who did I miss?
one. You missed an important one on the run sheet about Danny Dimes, mate.
Oh, fuck. The Danny Dimes question. Yes. Danny Dimes, 6 years in. How has he still got a job? Have we seen anything like this? I've actually quite literally got the Danny Dimes stats up as well, or at least I did. And of course I've closed them. But Danny Dimes, his touchdown turnovers for 6 years in the NFL sit at 70 to 47. He's like, completion percentage is 64%. How has he gotten 6 years into this career gap? Like anybody else would have been shit canned ages ago. He's got a QBR like 55, 54, 47, 62, 37, 46. He's never shown you anything.
Well, I think it's more important is how many times they've started, 2-6 or worse in the last half a dozen years, and you're like, what the fuck, man? But they also, I think the key part is they've generally been middling enough that they don't have access, unless they invest heavily, they don't have access to the top quarterbacks. Like there was talk about them. Who are they going to go after? JJ McCarthy? They were talking. Yeah, they were going hard after someone, and then they didn't run out of, they missed out on those sweepstakes, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, no, we've got all the faith in Danny Dimes. Like, do you though? The fan base sure as fuck doesn't.
Yep.
And Dable would have loved the shiny new toy, but you've forced him to trot this fucking thing out. And even neighbours must be sitting there going, fuck, I started out well, and now I've fallen off a fucking cliff. So,
nice.
Anyway,
good one. Right, good bloke of the week. Who are we buying a beer? I'm buying the Rizzler one, a.k.a. the dumper, a.k.a. the clogger. Clogged a shitter before the game. Thought, oh, that's not a great sign. Turns out he should clog a shitter every week. Same as the Panthers breaking drums. Like, you get a win, you got to do the same thing again, right? He's just going to be out there just fucking, I don't know, what are you going to eat that clogs it? Oh, he's going to be eating all that barbecue. Where are his Saints? Just get into that gumbo and just get into that southern barbecue. Oh, laughing. You'd back up a shitter in no time. He also changed the locker room setup, which I found fascinating because Dennis Allen is such a fucking just do nothing bullshit artist that apparently they just had this locker room set up the exact same way since it had been since COVID, where everybody was sort of split up into these little pockets. And it wasn't like receiver group, like QB group, like it was all just a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
And then he's like the Rizzler's taking over. He's like, why are we doing this? And they're like, oh, COVID protocols. Like, it's fucking 2024. What are we doing?
Yep.
You guys sit with the fucking dudes you play with, and you guys do the same. And everyone's like, he's an ideas man, the Rizzler. Like, what the fuck? That's insane. Dennis Allen's a moron.
So did sitting with other player groups stop you getting COVID?
That's the thing. Anyway. And the other good bloke of the week, also, if you hadn't told me that fucking he changed the locker room setup, I would have 100% not bet on Atlanta for that game. Leo Chenal for KC. Like, that was an amazing fucking block. Like, what are we doing? Like, blocking the field goal. You're taking the piss. Love that. Old mate, no mates this week. The Rizzler's ears copped a fucking battering. I don't know about you. I don't know if you've seen his like press conferences, just seen him in general. I don't know if that dude can wear sunglasses. Like, far be it for an idiot who's as ugly as me to like talk about another person's appearance, but it's just kind of a bit weird. They're just very, very low down on his head. Eberflus and the Bears coaches are old mate, no mates. Dweeberflus is copying it left, right, and fucking center. The Bears fans are angry. Love that. Debo, as mentioned, you brought this up before. He's trying to fight all of his teammates. Bit weird.
Yeah, going after the kicker, the long snapper first and foremost.
Yep.
Like, Jesus, settle down, mate.
The long snapper telling him to get fucked is pretty good too.
Yep.
Cam Robinson, that was an old mate, no mates of all time. But he ends up with the last laugh because he's on the winning team. But those other Jags, his former Jags teammates, clearly fucking hated that dude. They're like, he had like a late hit on that Jag sideline, and like everyone's like, we will all fight you right now. Let's go. It was awesome. Obviously, Jerry with the stadium costing his own team touchdowns as the glares hitting them in the eyes.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Everyone for the umpteenth fucking year going, hey, Jerry, this seems to be a problem. He's like, I don't know if it's a problem. Shut the hell up. I'm Jerry Jones. Fuck off. And you're like, whoa, okay. You're fucked in the head, mate. And old mate, no mates is Danny Dimes is Danny Dunn.
He's done skis. Yep.
But that sort of leans it into Outback Takehouse because it's Tuesday at Outback. And that means, that's right, taking the squids to bloody school and daycare this morning. We're leaning out the sides of each of the pram and on the scooter, cricket bats in hand, bang, bang, bang. As soon as those swoopy boys came by, Fucking took care of him. That's right. It's magpie wings. Only at Outback. Deep fried. Comes with a nice ranch sauce. And today's Flame Grill take is the Giants understand that Danny Dimes is fucking shit house. They know that he gives them the best chance at the number 1 overall pick. And also to fire Brian Daboll and go get Bill Belichick. That's right. The return of the prodigal son. Only at Outback. They could do worse things, Gaz. I'm just saying. Look, I love Daboll. I don't know what the fuck has happened there in the Giants, though.
No. He turned them from a shit start into a playoff team, and you're like, this guy's got it going on. And then ever since then, it's just been an absolute shit show.
Do you reckon it's because he lost too much weight?
I don't know.
Do you reckon it's like, I don't know. I don't think I like Ozempic Daboll. Like, I feel like with the weight going, he's maybe lost a little bit of the aggressive, I could also fight everybody in this locker room kind of vibe that he used to have.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The aggressiveness. Yeah, no. I get that. But, I mean, when you look at the, you got to fire the GM first and foremost because they invested heavily in that D line, which has validly been tearing everyone a new arsehole, but then invested nothing behind them. So everyone's just gone, if I can run through them and get to that second level, or I can buy just enough time to pop the ball over and challenge that secondary, they are fucked.
Bryce Young tore them up. Like, what are we doing here?
That is so fun. I thought they'd at least go, all right, there's got to be some false hope here. And then, no.
Yep.
No.
I think the weirdest part is you're right about how they're going to get rid of the GM too, because I think that's the problem you're going to see in Chicago, because you've got the number 1 pick and you've stupidly brought back the shit coach.
Yeah.
Because now you've got a wasted Caleb Williams year where you've got a shit coach, a shit OC. They're all going to get fired at the end of the season. New coach comes in. He didn't pick fucking Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And now it's like you're going to be in that fucking stupid roundabout again of like, is this guy good? Yeah. Do you trust him? Do you like him? He's not my QB anyway. And Ryan Poles is sitting over the top of it like just, I don't know, presiding over a bunch of shit fuckery. So, I don't know. Makes me angry. Little Aussie Battler of the Week. Loved me some Daniel Falale on the Friday game. Mm-hmm. They kept talking about how big he was. Which is fucking great. We're an O-lineman, right? They're like, they got him listed at 280. That's a lie. I'm like, fuck. Yes, it is. He's very big. But he was really good, I thought. Like, he had some good moments in that game. And it's like, that's kind of all the Ravens are after this year. Yep. Just going, hey, you're massive. Just go that way. And Derrick Henry is going to run behind you. Like, that's just fucking perfect. So don't mind that one. And Torrey Taylor, it's like, I think he copped a little bit of heat this week. Well, he didn't cop heat, but the Bears copped heat. For the simple idea of like, what was it? Caleb Williams is like, you won't have to punt much this year. And he's punted like 48 times already. Yeah,
I think he's got more punt yards than Caleb's got pass yards at this point, doesn't he?
That is pretty funny. I will pay that. All right, quick little bit of Captain Fantasy. So week 10, in terms of the fantasy points, Jamar Chase, if you played him, you lost.
Yep.
He had 49.9 points in our Yahoo League. So, yeah, 33.7 for Joey Buckets. Lamar Jackson, 32. He was really good in that game too, obviously. Jalen Hurts topped the 30. Kyler Murray, 28. My beloved Bijan Robinson, 27.9. Very cool. Thank you very much. I think I still lost. Purdy, 23. Chuba with the 22.9. Calvin Ridley, 22.9 as well, as a forgotten man down in Tennessee. Amazing gear.
20 points for the Philadelphia defense.
I think I kept the -1 with the Baltimore defense because Joey B just kept fucking throwing 1 million things. So, Anyway, I'm pretty sure I did lose. I didn't actually check that, but I don't think.
Yeah, I lost by
I won.
Oh, there you go.
Sucked in. I beat McKeegan. I'm a legend.
There you go.
Back off the
I lost by like a 1.5 to Jez, even though I had a decent game from Allen and the 20 points from fucking from the Eagles D. I just needed, the second half of that fucking Dolphins game. I'm like, just fucking pass it to Hill, you fucking jerk. And then, they didn't.
Tough. So, as per usual, the NFL Straya League is crazily tight. I think this hasn't updated the actual standings as yet with my win because the game, I guess, only just sort of finished. But, a lot of teams. There's literally everyone, there's 4 5s, 5 4s, and that'll be, when we actually update it, it'll be very, very close. So, good times. All right, let's do some Week 11 picks. Pick. So, the Week 10 picks, we both had a Barry Crocker shocker, guys. We got 6 out of 14 each. So, we split the games that we had different, which is good for me because I'm already down 12 beers here. So, it was looking like it was going to be more. But pulled that one out, so that's good. I think we sort of, as I sort of hit on earlier, right? Like the bigger favorites this week did not hit at all, I think. So you had, apart from Philly, who killed Dallas, like Detroit didn't cover in the end. The Chargers did, but we both picked them. Washington didn't even cover with the 2.5, obviously. The Niners didn't. And then, you sort of even Atlanta obviously lose outright. KC lose. Minnesota did. Buffalo did. But, the Bears lose outright. That sort of stuff. So, it was a bit of a rough one, I'll tell you. This week, however, we're Washington-Philly. What an awesome Friday morning game.
Yeah. I've got to try and work on Friday morning, Jim.
Why?
I don't know how I'm going to get anything. I don't know how I'm going to get anything fucking done, but it's too busy for old Gaz to bugger off down the Sporting Globe in Richmond to watch go to the watch party. But it's going to be a fucking cracking game. It says a lot about both of these teams. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Also going to update some of these lines, but we have, Philly 3.5-point favorites. We're both going Philly. I think they're just a little bit too good, especially on defense on a short week for the Commies. So the Commies will go from probably 7-2 to 7-4, just a couple of games in a very short period of time. I think it's a bit rough on the road for the Commies. So I think Eagles will be a little bit too good. Have another great game, Green Bay, Chicago. And when I say great, I mean, this could be bad for Chicago. So Green Bay coming off a bye. They're 6.5-point favorites. The fact that it's under a touchdown blew my mind. So I've gone Green Bay.
Yeah, I think fucking coming off the bye. Love had that extra week. He was a bit banged up and a bit fucky last week. And I think he'll come back and refreshed and give him the business, mate.
Yep. We then have Detroit, 13.5-point favorites over Jacksonville. That's a lot. But Detroit also are awesome, and they're at home. Yep. This does feel like it could be one of those random squirrely games that Detroit used to give us, though. So I don't know, but I'm still going to go.
And that defense, Jacksonville defense, might show up the way that they did. This
I don't
week,
know,
but I feel like there's a little bit too much going on in
they're
Detroit.
so bad. 2 touchdowns. Let's go. It feels like the Tennessee game where they just smashed them, right? 52. Minnesota against Tennessee. In Tennessee, they're 6-point favorites on the road. I think that is now 6.5. So we've actually both still gone Minnesota anyway.
Yep.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I just think I don't think Darnold will have another shitty game like he had this time, and Will Levis just gives me nothing.
That's right.
So I just do not like this Tennessee team. I know 6.5 feels a lot, but but still I can't not. It's Minnesota.
Yep. Miami host the Raiders. They are 7.5-point favorites against the Raiders. From what I saw from Miami today, I'm happy to take the 7.5 just because I do not like that Raiders offense against this defense of the Dolphins, especially at home. So anything
that the Raiders are gonna trot out on as quarterback just fills me with zero confidence.
Nice one. Rams, Pats. Pats are 4.5-point underdogs at home. I'm tempted to go them, but I'll go the Rams, even though they're on a little bit of a short week.
No, judging by the fact that we've picked everything the fucking same, I'm glad that I've got New England in this fucking thing. Look, I think the Rams. I don't know. It's just based on today. There's still a bit of sketchiness there, and I think New England are a little bit plucky. So give me 4.5. Give me a Rams winning by a field goal, and I'll take it.
Yeah, I don't like that it's in New England because getting the 4.5 there, but I feel like the Pats, they're going to have like one just giant stinker after a couple of nice ones. And here we go. Cleveland, New Orleans. We've both gone Cleveland. This is Jaymz coming home. I'm like, but mostly this is me going, the dead coach bounce. They're going to lose every other fucking game the rest of the season. 100%, trust me. 100%, But yeah, Jameis, let's go. I think it's a 1 point line. I'll just check that. Where is it? New Orleans, 1.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take Cleveland plus 1.5 in a heartbeat. Indy Jets. You've gone the Jets. I've gone Indy. The Jets are 3.5 point favorites at home. I don't know why. I just don't think the Jets are very good. I don't think Indy that good, but Flacco going in to beat the Jets would be funny. Anthony Richardson going in to beat the Jets would be funny. I think it's just going to be funny.
It's both of these teams are just fucky.
Oh, yes.
Right? Like, yeah, Flacco came in, you were like, oh, fuck, why wasn't he in it earlier? Because, you know, if they're serious this year, at least put it in Flacco, who dragged the Browns into the playoffs last year, and then it's just kind of been a bit downhill from there. Yep. The Jets, if that defensive line can do what it has done previously, Flacco's now a statue at this point. So, yeah, but their secondary, even like that Sauce Gardner secondary, has not even been good for the Jets. So, mate, yeah, I don't know why, but I'm just going to, you know, Jets have got to run the table at some point, according to Rodgers, don't they?
Probably starts now.
Starts now. I'm going with the Jets.
I like that. I think Indy should start Anthony Richardson for the next couple of weeks and then go back to Flacco for the stretch run. I think that's just they should alternate. 100%. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. How good is this game as well?
That's
top of the AFC North. Steelers, 3.5 point underdogs at home. Mike Tomlin, home underdog. I'm taking it. Do not care. Plus 3.5. You've gone Baltimore.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I win. I don't know what else to say. I think the way that Baltimore's playing at the moment, the suspect areas being their secondary, but also the sky balls. You're going to be relying on that a whole bunch from Rusty. But the defensive line for Baltimore may stifle that run games and make them one-dimensional. So I think it'll be a really big test for this Steelers defense.
Oh yeah,
and whether they can keep this up for the rest of the season, because we're starting to get into that point where we're like, fuck, Steelers have to be up in the first half of the season because they got a fucking brutal second half.
Yep, very true. I think even if like the plus 3.5, they could definitely lose this by a field goal, and I'm still covering.
Yep.
Denver host Atlanta. We've both gone Denver just because I don't think either of us trust Atlanta, and like the Broncos defense was actually good.
Who would have thought at the beginning of this season that we'd be picking Denver over anyone, let alone fucking Kirky 2 Chainz and this fucking Atlanta.
At home, though, here Denver feels right. So, Seattle, San Francisco, the Niners are 6.5 point favorites, which Seattle, actually, one of the other little bits of news was that they literally just flat out cut one of their defensive starters just before we started, I think, recording.
I haven't seen it.
Is their leading tackler, Tyrell Dodson, just gone. And it's like, oh, geez. So that gave me a little bit of pause. But the Niners, I mean, they looked okay. That was the get-right game against the Bucs. I think they're at home. They can – I mean, I can't remember how the wheel of hurt rolls around in the NFC West, but now that – so you've got Shanahan versus McVay, but now you don't have Pete Carroll, so I don't know if it really impacts anymore, but I think I should still believe that. But I think Shanahan's fine. Give me the Niners minus 6.5.
Yeah, look, I think San Fran are the better team. I've just got something with Seattle coming off that bye, a little bit fresh, and maybe keep it a little bit more squirrely than that big, nearly full touchdown.
All right, and then we have Kansas City, Buffalo. Couple of good games this week. Tell you what, week 11, this might be the best run of games we've had. Like, that's an amazing Friday game. You get a Green Bay, Chicago. You get a pretty weird, funky Jameis return. Indy, Jets, a Flacco Bowl. Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Atlanta, Denver's awesome. Seattle, Niners is great fun. And KC, Buffalo. How good is that? And I'm going Buffalo.
Pretty fucking awesome. Yeah, there you go. And I'm just, these close games, I'm just not betting against KC.
Checks out. Now I feel like an idiot. It's like, it's only a 2.5 point line and they're getting 2.5 KC.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to. Oh, no, it's a 1.5 point line actually now. That's changed. I feel a little bit better about that. Buffalo win by 2. I just feel like this is the exact moment, like KC 9-0 cruising. Buffalo suddenly out of nowhere, like, oh, yes, we finally beat KC. This is our year. And then KC fucking whacks them in the playoffs again.
Yep.
Chargers Cincy. How good is this for your Sunday night football game? Like, I'm going the Chargers at home, 1.5 point favorites. Oh, that's now a half point. Juzzy Herbs against this Cincy defense. From what I've seen, I'm going the Chargers.
Yeah.
Like, Quentin Johnson's relevant. That's cool. The Chargers defense, I did sort of talk it up before. And, you got your names like Khalil Mack and Bosa and shit. Will they be able to stand up against Joey Boo? I say yes.
I don't. I'm going Cincy for this one.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, I just really want Cincy to click it into gear, and they've shown the offensive side against a variety of different defenses. I mean, this Chargers defense, as we've just gone through, is no fucking around, but their defense can just keep the Chargers a little bit. If they can keep them under 30, I feel like they've got this. So, going to stick with Cincy.
Nice one. Then finally, Monday Night Football. How have they not flexed this out already? Dallas, Houston. Like, poor Dallas. Like, this is just another primetime beatdown, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've gone Houston. I think I'm going to go Houston as well. It's a 7.5 point line, which always worries me, where it's like, it could be just a Monday night grind, or it's like some 21-17 game or some shit. But I think Houston might just get out of the fuckery. It's just up the road in Dallas. They should be fine, right?
There was I can't remember what podcast I was, one of the highlight TV shows, the NFL shows, and they were interviewing, one on the panel was Drew Brees, and they were talking about the Dallas and where they're at, and he talked about some of the trials with some of the teams that he'd been on, and how those losses and those the ones that really hurt your pride, how it galvanizes the team, and he's just gone. But this is the Cowboys. They just splinter. And there was someone from who was it from Dallas who was on the panel, and their faces just dropped, like thinking that this is going to bring, there's got to say something positive. And Breeze has just got this smirk going, that's not what happens in Dallas. Everyone's turning on Jerry. They're waiting for Jerry to turn on McCarthy. Fucking Mike has come back. They got nothing. CD's pissy because he's got a home disadvantage. Fucking, you're putting in Cooper Rush, and then the fan base is going, fuck off Cooper Rush. Our season's dead. Let's see what we've got in Trey Lance. Then there's all of the stuff coming out this week going, hang on. DeAndre Hopkins went to KC, scored a touchdown in his first game. Mike Williams went to the Steelers, scored a touchdown in his first game. Mingo got traded to the fucking Cowboys, inactive for his first game, Jim.
Amazing.
And when they were in full rebuild, they've just given away a 4th round pick.
We really loved him in the draft. Then fucking play him. What are you doing?
Yeah. So look, I think that this is going to be the one. Houston, this game this week hurt, and so they're going to come back and just like absolutely kick the shit out of this Cowboys team that doesn't really have a lot to go for it.
Nice one. I like it. All right, there you go. There's the picks for week 11, and that is it for episode 100.
Fucking hell, we've got 6 different, Jim.
That's good. Maybe I'll peg back some beers.
Jesus.
Maybe.
Hopefully I don't blow my lead all in one week.
Not the way I'm picking at the moment. All right, but that's it. In the meantime, chuck a follow across Facey, Twitter, IG, TikTok, but of course, YouTube as well. I think we had to shout out somebody who was the 1,000th subscriber, didn't we? I feel like I saw that comment pop up.
There you go.
You're like, geez, it's probably not a bad idea. Like somebody's actually commenting, give us a shout out. It's like, okay, maybe we will. So while I find that, I think you should keep talking. And
right. I was just going to do it myself, Jim.
Where was it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, we're dead on 1,000 subscribers.
There you go.
Who would have thunk that?
At Solinki. There you go. I'm your 1,000th subscriber. Please praise me. Also, go Lions. I agree with the Go Lions part.
We
and
basically
Solinki,
jerk off to your football team every week.
I literally always praise the Lions. It's my job now, I think. That's right. I went off on the power ranking, so it was good stuff. But get right around the YouTube, get around the show. You can watch this one, the full show. You can check out the power rankings later in the week as well. all the good stuff there. And get around the end of, NBA Straya. That's the daily show for NBA stuff. We've got the AFLW Today show. It's in the finals right now. And of course, Cricket Today podcast, Football Today podcast for your soccer, and hold all tickets for your GGs. Rate, review, star, subscribe across Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, all the good stuff. All your weird apps on your Android phones. Rate, star, subscribe, whatever you can do. Comment. Just have a crack. That's all we ask for. Big thanks always go to House Hats for the intro and outro song. They rule. And there you go. Gaz, what do you want to plug?
It's my birthday next week, Jim. You gotta come. Gotta go play lawn bowls. You gotta come along, smash some tins with me.
Where's
in the
my bloody
afternoon?
invite?
You're
Jeez.
invited, mate. Look at your facey.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoops.
Yeah, there's nothing else. It's coming up to summer. I've got to get out in the sun. Just put on sunscreen, Jim. I had a fucking thing removed last week that they reckon could be cancerous. That's why I've got a hat on. And that's why I posted on the social medias about tell your kids to wear sunscreen. Apparently, Jim, when you go and run marathons, you're out in the sun a lot. And that can take its toll on you. So put your sunscreen on, and then you don't have to worry about the big C word being told to you before you're 45.
I like. I did have the baby squid. He's just like, oh. So I've gone to the potty because he does that now. And then he's just running around naked. He's like, I'm going outside. And you're like, sick. And he's just doing laps of the backyard with 2 sticks, just bashing shit naked. I'm like, that is definitely my child. 100%.
No paternity test required.
No paternity test at all required. All right, there you go. Well, there you go. That was an awesome, fun show. Make sure you subscribe across all the stuff. Jump in the comments. Send us in some yeah-nahs or we'll fight you.
Yep.
Either way, we'll catch you for week 11 wrap next week to set up week 12. So we'll catch you in a bit, you dickheads.
Nice. Fly, Eagles, fly. See yas.
Later, hosen.